I'm Paul Atchley, Associate Professor. I'm also Assistant Chair for Undergraduate Studies in the Department of Psychology. Well, one of the things that has been discovered, I would say, over the last 30 years is what we call the grand illusion. And that is this idea that when we have our eyes open, we sort of see everything. But what the eye can see and what the brain actually detects are two very different things, because we have a limited amount of information that we can process. And that's where attention comes in. The problem is we have to use what we call our attentional resources to do everything that we do. So if you're engaging in one task, like listening and talking, i.e. talking on a cell phone, while trying to do another task, like driving, where you're actually controlling a steering wheel and trying to look out in the environment and spot potential problems, you're trying to divide your attention between multiple tasks, and that leaves less attention for each individual task. We know that talking on a cell phone hands-free is about a 500% increase in accident risk, and texting and driving is about a 2,400% increase in accident risk. Drunk driving is only a 400% increase in accident risk. So both of those behaviors are worse than driving drunk, and yet people continue to do it. The problem is that, at least with something like texting as an example, it's a behavior that's very, very common in a certain group. If you look at the college students that we have today, texting is their primary means of communication. And text messaging while driving is probably the most dangerous thing you can do in a vehicle other than driving with your eyes closed. In fact, it is kind of like driving with your eyes closed, in that the average amount of time someone spends looking away from the roadway while text messaging is about 4 seconds per text message. So if you can imagine driving down the road and closing your eyes for 4 seconds, you can get some idea of what it's like to text message while driving. We actually asked people if they initiate text messages while driving, if they reply to text messages while driving, or if they just read text messages while driving. That 70% figure that we came up with were people that initiate text messages while the vehicle is moving. If we looked at people actually replying to text messages, now it goes up to 82%. And if we looked at people reading text messages, it goes up to 94%. Basically, only about 2% of the drivers that we surveyed on the KU campus don't engage in some form of text messaging while driving. They're all doing it. So one criticism that's often been leveled is that cell phones are being inappropriately targeted, that there's so many other threats in the vehicle, like people messing with their radios or putting on makeup or eating hamburgers. Why is it that we're picking on cell phones? And the answer to that is, one, these other behaviors, while they are dangerous, they're not necessarily as dangerous. About 60 to 80% of on-air minutes are spent in vehicles. And you multiply that times the number of people that actually have cell phones and use them while driving, you can see that something like talking on a phone or texting is far different in terms of its magnitude than something like eating or putting on makeup. Though everyone's seen people texting and driving or talking on a cell phone, not enough of us have had firsthand experience of someone getting injured or killed as a result of that. That'll happen, unfortunately, and when it reaches a certain point, we'll decide that this is something that we have to deal with.